A historic shift. The United States has embarked on a controversial new chapter in its immigration enforcement strategy, using military aircraft to deport undocumented immigrants. This unprecedented move has ignited a firestorm of debate, raising profound questions about human rights and national security. On January 23, 2025, two C-17 Globemaster III military transport aircraft departed from U.S. soil bound for Guatemala. This marked the first instance of such an operation, signaling a dramatic escalation in the Trump administration's hardline approach to immigration. The decision to deploy military aircraft for deportations has been met with a mixture of support and condemnation. Proponents argue it offers enhanced efficiency and security, while critics decry it as a dangerous precedent that violates human rights. As the debate rages on, one thing is certain: the use of military aircraft for deportations represents a watershed moment in U.S. immigration policy.
Military deportation starts with the apprehension and detention of undocumented immigrants. These individuals, often fleeing violence, are detained in overcrowded facilities. Once identified for deportation, they are transported to military bases. Here they undergo further screening and documentation. The conditions at these centers have been criticized by human rights groups. Deportees are often shackled during the journey on military aircraft. Upon arrival, they face an uncertain future and potential retribution.
The Trump administration's aggressive deportation strategy hit a snag when Mexico, a key partner in U.S. immigration enforcement, refused entry to a military deportation flight. This unexpected move, a rare display of defiance from America's southern neighbor, underscored the complex and often fraught relationship between the two countries. While the specific reasons for Mexico's refusal remain shrouded in diplomatic ambiguity, the incident highlighted the growing tensions between the U.S. and Mexico over immigration policy. Mexico has long been a transit country for migrants seeking entry into the United States, and the Trump administration's hardline approach has put a strain on bilateral relations. Mexico's Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a carefully worded statement emphasizing the importance of cooperation while upholding its national sovereignty. The statement suggested that Mexico was not obligated to accept deportations conducted via military aircraft, particularly given the lack of prior consultation and coordination. The White House, for its part, downplayed the incident, characterizing it as an administrative issue that was quickly resolved. However, the fact that a U.S. military aircraft carrying deportees was turned away by a neighboring country sent a strong signal that the Trump administration's unilateral approach to immigration enforcement was facing growing resistance.
The decision to utilize military aircraft for deportations is the latest and perhaps most controversial manifestation of the Trump administration's hardline approach to immigration. Since taking office, President Trump has made it abundantly clear that curtailing both legal and illegal immigration is a top priority. Central to this agenda is the belief that the United States is facing an invasion at its southern border, a narrative often employed to justify increasingly restrictive and punitive immigration policies. The Trump administration has consistently portrayed undocumented immigrants as a threat to national security and economic prosperity, stoking fear and resentment among the American public. To address this perceived threat, the administration has implemented a multi-pronged strategy aimed at deterring and punishing undocumented immigration. This includes ramping up border security, limiting access to asylum, separating families, and increasing interior enforcement actions. The use of military aircraft for deportations is seen by many as a natural extension of this hardline approach. The Trump administration's immigration policies have been widely condemned by human rights organizations, legal experts, and faith leaders who argue that they are cruel, ineffective, and contrary to American values. However, the administration has remained steadfast in its commitment to reducing immigration, arguing that its policies are necessary to protect national security and restore order at the border.
Section 5. Efficiency and Security. The case for military deportations. Proponents of using military aircraft for deportations argue that this method offers several advantages over traditional civilian deportation flights. They contend that military aircraft are more readily available, have a larger carrying capacity, and can reach a wider range of destinations, making them a more efficient means of removing undocumented immigrants from the country. Furthermore, they argue that military aircraft offer enhanced security, both for the deportation officers on board and for the surrounding airspace. The use of military personnel and equipment is seen as a deterrent to potential disruptions or escape attempts, ensuring the safety and security of all involved. Additionally, some proponents frame the use of military aircraft as a necessary response to the perceived crisis at the southern border. They argue that the sheer number of undocumented immigrants apprehended at the border necessitates a more robust and expedient deportation system, one that civilian agencies are ill-equipped to handle. In short, those who support the use of military aircraft for deportations view it as a practical and effective solution to a complex challenge. They believe that this method offers enhanced efficiency, security, and deterrence, ultimately serving the best interests of the United States.
Section 6. Human Rights in the Balance Concerns and Criticisms. The use of military aircraft for deportations has sparked widespread condemnation from human rights organizations, legal experts, and faith leaders, who argue that this practice violates the fundamental rights of migrants and sets a dangerous precedent for the future of immigration enforcement. One of the primary concerns is that using military aircraft for deportations further blurs the line between immigration enforcement and military action, contributing to the already alarming trend of militarizing the US-Mexico border. Critics argue that treating migrants as enemy combatants is not only morally reprehensible, but also counterproductive, fostering an atmosphere of fear and distrust that undermines efforts to address the root causes of migration. Another major concern is that deportations conducted via military aircraft lack transparency and oversight. Unlike civilian deportation flights, which are subject to certain legal and regulatory frameworks, military operations are shrouded in secrecy, making it difficult to monitor conditions on board and ensure the safety and well-being of deportees. Furthermore, critics argue that using military aircraft for deportations is a disproportionate and inhumane response to the challenge of undocumented immigration. They contend that subjecting individuals who pose no threat to public safety to the trauma of being transported like prisoners of war is cruel and unnecessary, causing lasting psychological harm. Section 7. A chilling effect. The human cost of militarized deportation. Beyond the legal and ethical considerations, it is crucial to acknowledge the profound human cost of the Trump administration's decision to use military aircraft for deportations. Behind the statistics and policy debates lie real people with families, dreams, and the fundamental right to seek a better life. The decision to uproot individuals from their communities, separate families, and forcibly return them to potentially dangerous situations inflicts immeasurable emotional and psychological trauma. Children, especially, are vulnerable to the devastating effects of forced migration, often suffering from anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Moreover, the increased militarization of the border has a chilling effect on mixed-status families, instilling fear and uncertainty in those who live with the constant threat of separation. The knowledge that loved ones could be apprehended and deported at any moment creates an atmosphere of anxiety and despair, tearing at the very fabric of family unity. The human cost extends beyond the individuals directly affected by deportation.
The Trump administration's hardline immigration policies have sown discord and division within American society, pitting neighbor against neighbor and eroding the values of compassion and empathy that have long defined the nation.